The higher man is distinguished from the lower by his fearlessness and his readiness to challenge misfortune. Friedrich Nietzsche. Breaking Bad is considered one of the best television series ever made. It tells the story of Walter White, an unremarkable chemistry teacher diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. Shortly after the diagnosis, Walter decides to cook methamphetamine with former student Jesse Pinkman, and so his metamorphosis from a timid, awkward man to a ruthless underworld kingpin begins. During his evolution, Walter White leaves a trail of destruction. From the beginning, he justifies his actions by telling himself he wants to provide for his family, as he won't be able to look after them anymore after his illness kills him. From this perspective, he rationalizes earning money by cooking and selling meth as a selfless act. But throughout the series, it becomes clear that his family isn't the only reason he does what he does. Walt feels defeated by life and seeks redemption by becoming the best meth cook in the region under the pseudonym Heisenberg. His distinctive blue crystals quickly become infamous with the underworld and the Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA. The character of Walter White shows an interesting psychological transformation throughout the series that has been discussed and analyzed for years. Was Walter White simply a frustrated man gone evil? Or was there more to his evolution into Heisenberg? Could it be that Walter White achieved what many others only dream of, namely to overcome himself? Through the lens of Nietzsche's idea of the Overman or Übermensch, this video explores the psychology of Breaking Bad character Walter White. Please note, this essay doesn't condone Walter White's actions, nor does it encourage people to imitate him. Also, this video contains Breaking Bad footage and imagery which belong to Sony Pictures, and it does contain spoilers. In the first episodes of the series, we meet Walter White as a timid man, showing characteristics of low esteem and an inferiority complex. His posture is slightly bent forward. He generally speaks softly, half-muttered, and rarely maintains eye contact. As a high school teacher, his pupils don't respect him in the slightest. And at home, he's handpicked by his wife, who loves him but doesn't seem to acknowledge him as an equal within the household. At a surprise birthday party, we see his macho brother-in-law and DEA agent Hank Schrader poking fun at Walt's masculinity. To make ends meet, Walt has taken on a second job at a car wash, where he receives continual disrespect from his boss, Bogdan. When a couple of his students see him washing a car, they laugh at him. His mediocre life is in stark contrast with his actual capabilities. Walt is a brilliant chemist who has obtained a PhD and was once part of a startup called Grey Matter with two friends from graduate school, Gretchen and Elliot. Gretchen and Walt were romantically involved at the time, but for personal reasons, Walt sold his share of the company to Elliot for $5,000. Gretchen and Elliot eventually married each other, and Grey Matter became a multi-billion-dollar company. Walter later felt that Gretchen and Elliot stole his work and blamed his financial problems on them. Despite his setbacks in life, Walter White remains a very prideful man. He refuses to take help from Gretchen and Elliot, who offer to pay for his cancer treatment. Walt loathes the fact that his son looks up to Hank, but looks to Walt with pity, and eventually enforces his role as a father upon him. Also, he doesn't want his wife Skylar, who is pregnant with her second child, to work, as he wants himself to be the provider of the household. Walt's ego gets particularly hit when Hank tells him, undoubtedly with good intentions, that he'll always look after his family, something Walt feels incapable of doing. His pride, his unwillingness to accept the past and how his surroundings perceive him, and his persistent feelings of inadequacy, shame, guilt, and resentment are factors that propel him into his psychological transformation. Walter White feels cheated by life and seeks redemption before he dies. Teamed up with his old student and drug dealer Jesse Pinkman and later the criminal lawyer Saul Goodman, he becomes a successful and respectable player in the underworld after many setbacks and bloodshed. His original motivation, providing for the family, slowly fades to the background as he realizes his full potential as a methamphetamine producer and a drug lord ruling an empire, feared by many competitors. Looking at the beginning of the Breaking Bad timeline, just before Walter White broke bad, we see that he had other options that would have made more sense rationally and practically. For example, he could have taken Gretchen and Elliot's money for his cancer treatment. He could have taken the outstretched hand of Hank and Marie. Walt would have received plenty of support from the people around him. His family would probably have been able to make ends meet after his death, either through the help of their environment or by fending for themselves. But Walt didn't accept other people's help. He was done being the meek, impotent shell of a man, unable to take care of business, always living in the shadows of those around him. Deep inside, he had a burning wish to ascend, to have lighted the sky briefly before he passed away. In his work, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche professed his idea of man's ultimate state. Zarathustra is a prophet-like character who decides to share his wisdom with the world after a period of seclusion. He declares that God is dead, pointing to the fading influence of Christianity on Western civilization. Even though Nietzsche criticized Christianity, he also predicted that Western civilization would fall into nihilism without the guidance of religious morals. Nietzsche argued that people don't live by bread alone. We need meaning in our lives. How could people survive and thrive without an overarching purpose? In an attempt to save people from the soul-crushing hands of nihilism, he proposed the idea of the Overman, or Übermensch in German, not to be confused with Hitler's Übermensch, which comes to fruition in the story of Zarathustra. The Overman is a fully self-actualized being, a vision of what someone could be, which differs per person, an ultimate potential to aim for. The Overman rejects collective morals, like those presented by Christianity, and creates his own morals. Nietzsche described a human being as a tightrope over an abyss between the beast and Overman. Attempting to cross the abyss is a dangerous but fulfilling undertaking. But to move away from being a mere human animal, man must strive to overcome one's human nature and become an Overman. I quote, "All beings so far have created something beyond themselves. And do you want to be the ebb of this great flood, and even go back to the beasts rather than overcome man? What is ape to man? A laughingstock or a painful embarrassment. And man shall be just that for the Overman, a laughingstock or a painful embarrassment." End quote. Opposed to the Overman, Nietzsche placed the so-called last man. The last man nihilistically concerns himself with short-term pleasures and works to fulfill them. As a herd without a shepherd, the last men all want the same thing. Some little treats for the day, some little pleasures for the night, which, added together, constitute what the last men call happiness. I quote, "Lo, I show you the last man. What is love? What is creation? What is longing? What is a star?" asks the last man and blinks. The earth has become small, and on it there hops the last man who makes everything small. His species is ineradicable, like that of the ground flea. The last man lives longest. "We have discovered happiness," say the last men, and blink thereby. End quote. Until his cancer diagnosis, Walter White represents Nietzsche's last man. He seems tired of life, risk-averse, and unable to actualize his full potential. His life revolves around earning a living for himself and his family by engaging in a mind-numbing routine of trying to teach chemistry to unmotivated high school students that don't respect him and cleaning cars. From the morality of the herd, Walt is, in many ways, a great man. He is humble, works hard, and even took a second job to provide for his family. He plays by the rules, obediently doing what's good rather than what he desires. Ironically, his terminal illness was his first unintentional break with the last man archetype, as it would radically shorten his lifespan. If Walter didn't get the diagnosis, he would probably have continued his mediocre life, dead-end job, and his little treats for the day and little pleasures for the night. An example of the latter is the passionless birthday present given by his wife Skylar. But Walt's abrupt change in outlook evoked a paradigm shift, evaporating barriers that previously held him back. When time is running out and longevity isn't an option, one often starts to live more immediately. Walt's paradigm shift paved the way for reinventing himself, redeeming his unfulfilling life as a cowardly, meek person disguised as humble and moral. He's just decent, and he always does the right thing. Thus, Walt Jr. described his father during a local news item about the website he created to collect money for him. But Walt's decency wasn't so decent. It was weakness. In reality, he was resentful of those who had it better, especially Gretchen and Elliot, but felt impotent and powerless and unable to change his life circumstances. He was a genius who settled for a mediocre life, a docile sheep conforming to what the world imposes on him. Nietzsche stated, "There exists no more repulsive and desolate creature in the world than a man who has evaded his genius and who now looks furtively to left and right, behind him and all about him. He is wholly exterior, without kernel, a tattered, painted bag of clothes." End quote. Deep inside, Walt longed for greatness, or from a Nietzschean point of view, his will to power, the irrational striving force inside of him, demanded to be expressed. He found an opportunity to snatch that power through partnering up with Jesse and cooking meth. And thus his escape from being Nietzsche's last man began when he answered to the deep-seated longing for heroism and self-actualization. Or, as he stated to Jesse, "I am awake." Scholars are divided on what Nietzsche's Overman would look like exactly, but the ideas of self-command, self-overcoming, the willingness to say yes to life, determining one's own values, and reaching one's full capacities seem collectively agreed upon when describing the Overman. Nietzsche admitted that becoming the Overman is rare and possibly too difficult for most of us to accomplish. A more realistic goal, however, is to at least walk the tightrope between beast and Overman, away from the last man archetype, towards fulfilling one's higher potential. Such a pursuit characterizes the higher human. Looking at Walter White climbing the meth business, we see a man overcoming himself, affirming life, and creating a higher purpose, despite the destructiveness of his trajectory. One of Walt's realizations after his awakening is how fear had always held him back, and for a significant part, he has overcome fear. He is free in ways he previously was not. When his brother-in-law Hank has PTSD, Walt tells him, and I quote, "I've spent my whole life scared, frightened of things that could happen, might not happen. 50 years I spent like that, finding myself awake at 3 in the morning. But you know what? Ever since my diagnosis, I sleep just fine. And I came to realize it's that fear that's the worst of it. That's the real enemy. So get up, get out in the real world, and you kick that bastard as hard as you can, right in the teeth." End quote. Nietzsche was disgusted by what he called slave morality, which he saw as human weaknesses turned into virtues. His Overman, therefore, was amoral, which isn't the same as immoral. Amoral in this context means rejecting traditional values and creating one's own. Evidence of Walter White moving towards the Overman ideal is him shedding off old collective morals and adopting new ones, or creating his own. This moral transformation is a testament to independent thinking and self-command that lie at the basis of his ascent to power. Instead of turning the other cheek, Walt physically attacks his son's bullies in the clothing store. Instead of presenting himself as meek and timid, he begins to assert himself and stand up against tragedies. Instead of refraining from killing, considerably one of the worst crimes from a general moral perspective, Walt reluctantly kills drug dealers Crazy 8 and Emilio early on in the story, and later he ruthlessly liquidates anyone who stands in his way to the top. Walt also employs revenge instead of quote-unquote weaker morals like acceptance or forgiveness when dealing with his enemies, Gretchen and Elliot. he isn't shy from using deceit and manipulation to reach his goals, and replaces his humbleness for pride, as he wants the world to feel the impact of his activities, ingenuity and skill. Nietzsche stated, "What is good? All that heightens the feeling of power in man, the will to power, power itself. What is bad? All that is born of weakness. What is happiness? The feeling that power is growing, that resistance is overcome." End quote. Driven by the will to power, Walt intends to establish himself in the world, make his presence known, and exploit his brilliance by creating the purest meth ever produced in the region. Unlike the mediocre, docile existence he lived before, his life under the pseudonym Heisenberg allows him to use his intelligence to serve a more fulfilling purpose. Aside from producing meth, he applies his genius in various ways, from using ricin as poison to using a giant magnet to wipe off evidence from Gus Fring's laptop and stealing methylamine from a train. Walt's longing for power becomes more apparent when he tells Jesse he isn't in the meth business, but the empire business. After his most prominent opponents, Gus Fring and the Salamancas, have been wiped off the map, he proudly exclaims to his wife, "I won." With his activities, Walter White sows death and destruction. From a traditional moral perspective, he turned bad and, unsurprisingly, became one of the most wanted criminals in the country. However, his transformation into Heisenberg generated psychological and physical benefits. He felt better, happier, and in control. His libido returned, and his cancer went into remission. "There's more wisdom in your body than in your deepest philosophy," stated Nietzsche. At the end of the series, Skyler asks Walt why he did what he did. Instead of repeating his mantra, saying he selflessly did it all for the family, he finally makes his true intentions known. I quote, "I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it. And I was alive." Thank you for watching. Or the middle chill.
Are you crying? Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in foosball.
You fucking cried after 3 days in the fucking holding tank. Looked like a fucking pile of wet rags at court. You should see how I showed up to court after 3 days in the box with the light on.
Please, is there anything I can do, sir? Please.
Does he look like a bitch? What?
Don't do this to my wife, man. You don't know what you're doing to my family, man.
Does he look like a bitch?
Sir, please don't make me sleep in jail tonight, sir, please. I'm begging. We're not criminals. They're gonna make me sleep in jail.
Continue. You were saying something about best intentions?
Josh has never been arrested for recording.
Okay, so that's him getting arrested, and then his friend here makes a phone call that I want to touch on.
These folks run in the opposite direction from me or get completely freaked out and triggered and then try to project onto me because they know I can see. I always knew. I just had to get it on record for everybody else. You don't think I can look at these people and see them move? Come on now. There's no escaping who and what we are and what we know about ourselves, what we think other people know or don't know about us. I can see the move. I'm pretty astute, pretty intuitive. I know me. I know life. You will come here regularly, get entertained by me. I will change your life in some way with this perspective. And we have an asylum around back for those who can't get it together. I knew what I was going to meet and face.
God
I
damn
knew
it,
what I was
Paul.
going to potentially have to give up to get back, like the scripture outlines. And I'm doing it for the right reasons. because I really do believe in this understanding and these synchronicities and these co-creative connections and gaining an understanding through experience that changes one's life and trajectory. For me, that's like all that we have here. That's all I have here. You know, the rest is extras. The art of living, it's the spiritual faith, it's the principles and values. The rest is extras. You're going to get the real here, you're going to get the truth here, you're going to get inspiration and empowerment to do the next right thing, or you ain't going to be here for long. And I like it that way. I'm tightening my shit up. You know, I got people in my life who I respect, who respect me, who we have a valuable, empowering thing going on, and we're going to take it to the next level. It's all that and more. It's God. You really want to get down to it? You want to get down to the experience? Because I'm talking about an experience. I'm not talking about some guy in the sky. You could call that arrogant. You could call that prideful and all the rest. But no, I recognize my position. I'm not a man of the majority of these people at this point, based on how I'm living, what I'm doing, and what I'm not doing. I'm a man for the people. I'm a man that these slaves can look to, like Maximus in the arena, and say, you know what, Paulie Boy's onto something there. We feel in us what we see in him. We know we're one and the same. We're going to do something different about our life. That's all this is. So it's just kind of confusing to me. All the folks with all the money, the big money, you know, the big condos and houses. You know, the ones who like to plan all the trips and fly on the planes and have all the extras. Why they don't focus on the main thing. So one does not sublimate or substitute the other. 2025 saying is money can't unlame you, money can't unslave you. Okay? And I don't think anybody can deny that. I just freed you up, man. Go live that empowering, inspiring life that you love so much. Don't let me hold you back. Greetings, ladies and gentle beans. Isn't that what OTW says? Something along those lines, whatever the fuck that means. Yeah, we're gonna go life in the 30s first and foremost. Blast to the past, and we got some Doge news. Apparently, Elon, big talk of the town. All the conslavatives online on Face Slave Book, and other slave apps are chattering again, like they do regularly. They think that Elon and Donnie and the rest are creating Doge, which is some sort of company to find all the wasteful spending. All of a sudden, overnight, everybody's getting accountable and responsible. It sounds good, you know, feels good. What am my antennas report to me? Well, you know, Paulie Boy's negative guy, evil and wicked. Dark, he's morbid, he's macabre. Reports to me that they're duping you once again. You know, I'd love to believe that the billionaires really started caring about us overnight. You know, folks who quadrupled their net worth while locking everyone down for the last 4 or 5 years just started caring about us all of a sudden. No, I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think that there's a looping layout here playing out, the historicity game. But it's not going to be that quick and that easy. Maybe I'm wrong, but what am I getting to here? What am I alluding to? Well, I just think that they're making the old system look obsolete on purpose because they're bringing in a new one on time. You know, how do you like get folks to adopt a new currency and track and trace them and be able to shut them off if they don't listen in their smart cities? Well, you convince them the dollar and all the rest of it can't be tracked and traced. We don't know where it's all going. You guys are paying all this fucking slave tax anyway. I mean, come on. We just sent $50 million worth of condoms to Mozambique. You know, and I'm guessing those are like the golden condoms. Forget what the magnums, right? I'm guessing that those are double the price because they're double the size. Those magnum condoms that we're apparently paying for to send over to Mozambique, which I don't know exactly where that is, but I'm thinking it's a place full of brown people. It sounds like it. That's why I went with the gold condom thing. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little too negative. You know, I'm not willing to give the devil its due. so to speak. I always got an agenda, that there's an agenda. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. I go, hey, if, the keyword is if. So I want to believe I'm not completely psychopathic and sociopathic, although the majority of YouTube says that when I try to hold them accountable and responsible. So yeah, it's like if I was a completely psychopathic, sociopathic, wanting to run the world and game everybody and kind of like, usher in some kind of financial change, complete overhaul, wealth transfer, one of the biggest in history, as always. It's never the biggest because this has gone on over and over again. Who knows what the biggest is? I go, well, I'd come out of nowhere just to save everyone, like whip up the patriotism and just start revealing how that like old world order is so obsolete and just not working for us. That Federal Reserve System. Come on. That's that's so early 2000s, guys. So early 2000s, US dollar. Oh God, please. That's gone the way of gold and silver. What we need now is Doge Department and like Dogcoin and other digital currencies. And the way we're going to get that is by showing you guys just how fucked up your system is and how all the taxes you slaves are paying, you feudal slaves, are going to condoms and Hillary and Ukraine and drones and stuff like that. And then next thing you know, the slaves, they're clamoring for digital currency. They go, you know what? Donnie and Elon, you guys saved us again. We can't thank you enough. And we're now, we want the digital currency. We want the slave coin. We want the tracking and tracing. We want to know where every fucking non-dollar goes so we can make sure that there's no more corruption, and bam, they got you, because the whole world is pimping and hoeing. They just don't know it. So I know maybe this is a solipsistic reality where whatever I think's going to happen happens, because I'm like 40 for 40 at this point. I'm batting 1,000, from where I'm sitting, and maybe I'm biased there to keep me honest, but I'm batting 1,000 pretty much everything that I look at with these things, and I make my determination has come true. It's exactly what I think it is. It's never what they say it is. Never. From the slave at 19 to the vaccines to the left-right political system to the 3 world wars and the economic changeover to the economic collapse, Greater Depression, to the digitized currency, to the tracking and tracing, to the Putin's using Bitcoin and it's so bad he's the worst person ever. If you want to like slight something, if you want to throw shade on something, so that's how I know, to me, right? See, this is how we decode. I'm not like your average content creator, by the way. So don't treat me like it. I got real decodes here, but they're shitting on Bitcoin and saying Putin uses it because they're going to use some alternate currency. You can feel it in the air, like Phil Collins. Yeah, don't treat me like these other content creators. I got a new clip.
You can't treat him like any of the other niggas around here because he ain't like any of the other niggas around here. You got it?
Right. That's my new proviso for the new folks who come in here. Don't get the difference. Like, Whack Hubbard and all the rest. It's real decodes here. So Putin was using Bitcoin. We need to track and trace. They already laid it out. Like 6 months back, they laid out the middle ground of the left-right system continues to lay out what it's going to be one way or the other. Oh, no, I'm not cutting in case they see this on camera. I'm not. I didn't try to end it all. I went to go open the Shilajit, which is a glass container. It's not really a bottle. It's a container. Ceramic sort of glass. Shattered everywhere. Cut my wrist open. Almost died. What was I saying? Right. They laid it all out when they said we need digital currency. It's great, but not Bitcoin because we can't track and trace and shut it down. If I remember correctly, I might have to pull up the article, but there's key moments. So they're already alluding to, and they're already laying it out with the Doge Department and all the rest of them, where this all goes, if they can get it done. So the ones that you think, it's very interesting because there's like a whole bunch of people you could argue in the middle who are not necessarily that extremely avatared, but like Donnie, Elon, the rest of them, they're not the Antichrist, but it doesn't get any more obvious, the deception, to me. Maybe I'm just not giving them the credit that's due. You know, like when they get up there and start Heil Hitlering and shit like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know where we're at on the historical timeline, right? We're going 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, and that makes sense because we're 2020s, 2030s. You see the point here, right? So this will go down in history when it all comes true. Hopefully it won't, and I'll just be some conspiratard online making things up, projecting and assuming. I don't think that's the case. I get a funny feeling about everyone's favorite daddy and Elon and all the rest of them, that they're literally going to be some of the initial folks ushering in complete new world order. Whether they realize it or not, I'm not even claiming oftentimes these folks realize what they're doing. Like I might be one of them and not know it and be able to see what the rest of them are doing and call it out and then get tricked out of position by my blind spot, which seems to be how this game works. The devil gets you while you're looking everywhere but at self, right? That's that self-awareness idea. So yeah, watch for that. Check your rear view from time to time, right? Don't drive looking in the rear view mirror, but check the rear view from time to time. It sneaks up on you. And that's what I think is potentially, like, I'm giving them credit. If they're not completely like, hey, we're evil, we're doing sorcery and spells, we're doing mockery and rituals, although Elon did wear a Baphomet costume during Halloween and other stuff. Did do the whole convertible with the guy in space where the guy was obviously in a studio and then laughed and giggled and mocked everyone. He's a little trolly, as Christos and others have said. Chat box, some of our longtime residents, you could argue, of Unslavia, whatever that is. Metaphorical, metaphysical idea. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing happening here. But hey, I don't want to ruin everyone's fun. They're whipped up as they always are, and we've been doing this for about 15 years now, right? Like I get memories on my Facebook going back 10 to 15 years of me pretty much saying some of the same shit while everyone else is wringing their hands and shouting out from both sides and saying what it's going to be that it never is. And every time, negative, dark, macabre, Prawley boy in the corner, shitting in the punch bowl. What a shame. We'll get it. We'll figure it out at some point. Elon, Donnie, and the rest of them really don't love you. They're not here to help you. Their best attempts to help you only lead to them helping themselves, them quadrupling their net worth, getting more worldly power, and then somehow going off to who knows where, maybe the other side of the ice ring. Go get the beta males who sit over there all day, every day and talk ice ring. I think it's some kind of Freudian reveal of some other kind of hot and cold ring, entrance point, portal. I'm not going to get into it. See, it's a family broadcast. We're not going to bring it down to their level. It's fetishists, what I call them, among other things. Yeah, we don't know where these folks go. Like Tupac, they're still finding Tupacs all around. Like he was on TikTok the other day. I don't know what that's about, but it was clearly Tupac, like 20 years older, on TikTok, just making reels. Is that the original? Is that a clone? Did the original go to the ice wall? I can't tell you that. Our best people are working on it. Elon's Starlink system is going to track and trace the shape of the planet and get us a reading because we can trust him. We can trust him and NASA. I know that. I feel that. I want to believe that. All right. I got a shirt from there one time. It's a pretty cool shirt. I can't fit in it anymore, but whatever. Still a cool shirt. Still kind of a trustworthy organization. Space Force, I'm thinking next level NASA. Like we can trust it times 2. So I'm going with that because the alternative is we're fucked. And I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that the United States, which of course is a corporation, not a country, is fucked, or rather the people who serve it, its citizens, are completely fucked, disintegrated, disillusioned, dejected, disempowered. You know the able, non-able words. I can't bear to witness that, accept that. So I'm going to go with the next best option, which is one of these two parties is going to save us. The conslavatives seem pretty rational and logical. They're definitely not as evil as the left side. And a lot of folks on my Facebook today are going to enjoy this when they see it. I'm being very rational and reasonable and sensible today. They are. So that's going to cause me to do lesser of two evils. I'm riding with Elon and Donnie. I got to do it because if not, I'm just kind of alone. You know, I'm kind of off in the corner, just saying stuff. People are like, whatever. He's negative. We're doing this over here. It's unpopular. Doesn't feel good. So I'm turning over a new leaf. New year, new me. That's why I'm wearing this today. You know, I'm maggot out. I figure, what the fuck? You know, I throw in on it. We'll make America great again, or rather United States Corporation, I guess. And how are we going to do that? Well, among other things that I already mentioned, we're going to I'm thinking, follow me here. We go Gaza Strip Hotel Casino, right? Because Donnie's doing apparently renaming the Gulf of Mexico. It's the Gulf of America now. I don't know. He's kind of going sob sit terrorist a little bit, but whatever. I, of course, if not anyone, can ride with that. So Gaza Strip, hotel, casino, maybe bed and breakfast, State of Israel, fully signed on. They got some credit. They're working with, I don't want to say it, but, there's a certain group of small-hatted folks who are really good with money and getting money and making more of it. And I'm thinking this is good business for U.S. corporation. We're deep in debt here, guys. The left wing sold this place off, not this place. The United States of America Corporation, it's metaphysical. It doesn't actually exist, but we think it does, and it's funding our whole livelihood here. That's the idea. So we got to make a move here. They sold us off to Canada. We're deeply in debt. These fucking entitlement programs and shit like that. It's getting bad. So Gaza Strip's got to happen. Motel, hotel, casino, bed and breakfast. Signing on with the State of Israel. By the way, those people I was mentioning before are Jews. Okay. So a lot of this audience kind of slow. They don't really get what's being said. So I don't want to spell it out, but I have to sometimes. And we're just correct here. Just being honest, just being correct. Don't get upset by that. Please. Oh, we have I'm apparently getting word here. Apparently this is a video representation of the average voter. The average voter who says that the left wing, right wing system corporation is going to save them, and it's all going to get better overnight. Elon and Donnie and all the rest of them. Let's go to that.
Yeah, dude who's been doing this for 32 years. Full-time professional. Rated by One Family Magazine, #1 clown, 9 straight years.
Right. It is. And that's me now. That's me, because I'm signing on to MAGA. I'm signing on to Donnie and Mitch McConnell. Is he real? I don't know. I'm not that great at this stuff. I got to get my head back in the game. Voting, statute, policy, and code, U.S. corporate activities, state ofs, Israel and otherwise. Yeah, I've been out of the game for a while. All right, can we go 1930s? U.S. ape. They're calling for a U.S. ape chant down there. It's a shame, man, because we're in deep in the algorithm yesterday. We're not tapping it today. We're not tapping in. But that's okay. We'll get at them tomorrow. I noticed what they've been doing. It's an every other day thing. Tubes. They met me in the middle. They go, first you get no algorithm. It's not happening. Now they're like, all right, every other day. Throw you a bone. I'm like, okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I'll just send them a few more letters letting them know I might have to sue them. Maybe they'll give me the whole package. One of these days. One of these days, Pop. One of these days. I wanted more for you, Michael. Content creator Corleone. Host of the panel, non-panel Corleone. Breaking news announcer Corleone. All right, let's go 1930s blast to the past, because I want to see what it looked and felt like, and I want to make some correlations here, if any. about what slaves like myself and others, because now I'm maggot out. I'm getting a Make America Great Again sign. I'm gonna put it on my lawn. I'm jumping in because I want to be invited to the parties. I want to hang out. I want to rock this red shit without like the Crips trying to beat me up. You know, and if you go MAGA, they give you a pass. So I got to do it. There's a lot of reasons. Too many to name. Life in the 30s, 1930s documentary film, Great Depression, New Deal, Dust Bowl. Wow. I wonder if we're going to get a Great Depression, New Deal, Dust Bowl, sort of food famine event. It's not like, it's not like folks every day now are saying, hey, the whole state's flooded with toxic foam that's killing everything. I mean, that's not happening. So we're going to get Toxic Foam Bowl in between Super Bowl with Kendrick Lamar. Wow, that feels good. Give me the Intellivision.
Closing time. The close of an era. The great big spree, the jazz age, is over. All over. In the 1920s, the great American word was prosperity. Now the 30s have begun, and there is a new word. Depression.
Oops.
Little man, what now? Well, you can always sell surplus apples, 5 cents a piece, on the street corner. And if you're bewildered, panicky at what's happening to you in your country, you aren't alone. One of America's biggest industrialists has openly admitted, I am afraid. Every man is afraid. Prosperity is just around the corner, say the hopeful headlines. But around the corners wind the lengthening bread lines, and a whole new class of citizens appears in American society. The new poor.
It's the new slave who needs a new deal.
And when private charity can no longer carry the burden, the states are forced to act. The New York governor, Franklin Roosevelt, is the first to supply direct emergency relief to the unemployed. The same paralysis that lames the cities blights the farms. And out in the country, too, men are asking, what's wrong? What's happening? Farm prices have dropped disastrously, and a man's work no longer brings him a just return. The threat of foreclosure, of losing house and home, spreads through the conservative farmlands, and radical talk is boiling into action.
MAGA, MAGA, MAGA.
In Iowa, the Farmers Holiday Association organizes to block the flow of farm product to the city in an attempt to force prices up. It is illegal action. But one farmer says, seems to me there was a tea party in Boston that was illegal too.
There goes all the slaves in a fury, hysteria. I mean, seriously, am I the only one? Like, how many? Let's do like the Castro. He's very interactive with his audience. One in the chat, if you are completely baffled and fascinated, and then in your own way, motivated to like do and be and have something different by witnessing the fact that if you want to say it's us, like I don't want to do the us thing, but it is on some level, I guess, till it's not. That we as a human race continue to do the same fucking things over and over and over again and call it something different and never learn from the fact that it's already happened on the whole. Anyone else completely baffled and fascinated and motivated in their own way to do and be and have something different? One in the chat. Because I want to know how much this is just my fetishism and fixation and obsession, really. It's like it's just every 10 years, every 50 years, every 100 years, it's the same fucking rap. It's the same confusion and chaos. It's the same lack of understanding. It's the same excuses and justifications. It's the same false solution folks are going to reach out for. Oh my God, the ones are coming in. It's a wall of ones. Oh, the humanity. Looping, right. That's why I've coined the term here, looping. That's now lived on in infamy on panel versus everywhere. I've coined so many linguistic terms that'll be used forever. They'll be passed down to the children, right? So that's a good use of this is where the Nama slave comes in. I've coined that term, Nama slave. I see the slave in myself that I see in others that continues to loop in its insanity perpetually. That is, you want to talk enlightenment or awareness? That is it. Now, what do you do with it? Anybody's guess, right? That's like people go, I want enlightenment. I want conscious awareness. I want inspiration and empowerment. Okay, here it is. Now, what do you do with it, right? What you thought is the hard part was the easy part. The best is yet to come. All right, let's continue. A few more minutes. I don't know if they're going to fucking bang me on this. You know, there's a lot of things I'd like to play here or work in or share, but I get like a bit gun shy because they're already fucking me. Excuse me. They're already banging me. You know, I don't want to be too crude here. They're already banging me 10 ways to Sunday in various different ways. And it just, especially at times when I'm challenged, you know, I've had dis-ease for the past however long. It seems to be getting better a little bit at a time. I eat right and exercise and take the herbs and plants and the remedies and, you know, not stress myself out, which my Dr. Pizer was correct on some level. At least if you consult the Ayurvedic traditions, the other Eastern traditions, stress, anger, indignation, being indignant can correlate to these liver and gallbladder and pancreatic issues. Even though I banned my doctor, physician, Mr. Pizer, I appreciate his words of wisdom. He's right again. He can't figure out how to grow weed and sell it. He can't figure out how to stop being a bitch. But he can figure out, at least to some degree, correlations between the physical and metaphysical. I thank him and others for reminding me of that. Because it's been revealed to me a long time ago. But they, along with my bodily condition and just my overall countenance, have to be reminded at times. Maybe this is better than that. If not for anyone else, for me. And oddly enough, you do what's better for you and you get selfish to get selfless, if that makes sense. Better for others as well. You need a jocular, jovial, cherubic poly boy who's slightly overweight, rosy-cheeked, has a good humor about him. Please stop yelling and screaming all the time. Please stop cursing at us. Please stop telling us we're pitiful, pathetic, embarrassing, putrefied, petrified slaves. That's not nice. You know? So I get that. And again, I don't know that. I can speak to that. And then you got to do the Nama slave work and go within. Go, how much of what Paulie Boy is saying to me is true for me? How much of a vice-ridden, in bondage, latched out, slaved out, pimped out, hoed out being am I? Only you can prevent forest fires, and also only you can look within and figure out what you need on this journey by calling on higher self, right? So it's not what I call you, it's what you answer to, and you only answer to higher self, which is God in a sense, or conscience locally. If not, leave it where I left it, right? Like they say, folks, at some point that was shown to me that, you know, what ultimately bothers me, you know, a point of contention, something I keep coming back to is usually something that contains the truth. So when you got folks who come back here 2 and 3 years in a row, every day pretty much, they're bothered by something I've said to them or something I've generally said, whether it was personally about them or what I know about me that I project onto them, there's a good chance that there's some truth in there for us to take away with. It's not completely my projection, presumption, and assumption. So it's not what I call you, it's what you answer to. And oftentimes, you know, folks can only get you stuck on a certain contention point if there's some truth to be revealed there. It's what I've learned a while back for myself. So I speak to that in me that I see in others, and then I allow their response or reaction to essentially confirm or deny whether or not that's something that needs to be looked at. Interesting process. All right, back to the 30s. I'm liking this. We'll try to tiptoe a little bit.
The crisis spreads.
Crisis is
From
spreading.
all over the country, unemployed veterans of
2030.
World War I
Agenda
march on
2030.
Washington, 15,000 of them. They demand immediate payment of a cash bonus promised them for the future. They need it now. They want it now. But the Senate votes no, and authorities see in the bonus marchers a mob animated by the spirit of revolution, a menace to the nation's capital. Troops disperse the veterans and burn down their shanty settlement.
You dumbass.
Not since the Civil War has such pressure, political, economic, social, centered on the White House. In the face of a hostile press and a divided Congress, Herbert Hoover makes unprecedented use of government power to encourage recovery.
There's Donnie.
His fundamental faith is in the rugged individual.
See what they do? You see the pimp game they run on you? Oh, everyone's disenchanted with the corporation. Everybody's kind of like, on the cusp of realizing we got to care for ourselves and with each other and do what's true and what's right on the ground. And then what happens? They swoop in with their government bills and regulations and banking games to save the people from themselves and what they've created to do the same game all over again. It's beyond fact. You got to give the devil its due. And Lou, if you're going to continue to bring up my spiritual, religious, biological choices, I'm going to consider you an enemy of the state of unslavia. And I've learned from other Christians. I'm walking with different sects of Christians, not SEX, right? Those are different Catholics and Christians. I hang with them too sometimes, but I don't talk about it here because it's politically incorrect. But the Christians have been teaching me to use the power of manifestation in God and to pretty much make anyone who will not go along with me and what I'm saying and Jesus an enemy, and have God essentially curse them and burn them by fire because I deserve your things, your women and children. And I've said that here before, not out of pride. That's just the way that it is. I'd be better off with the majority of these inauthentic corporate males and bloodsuckers like Lou Best. I love the guy. I fucking love the guy like so many others. I mean, it's crazy how many people I love who just do nothing but hurl insults at me. They cast aspersions. They try to prosecute me online. They victimize me. They're constantly bullying me, hating on me. It's disgusting. It's despicable what these people are doing. And I'm going to make you an enemy. And I got a Haitian Christian pastor who is now teaching me how to get your stuff and have you burned by fire and cursed.
Give me car, give me wife, give me children, give me this, give me that, kill my enemy, kill my enemy, kill my enemy, give me, kill my enemy, give me. Anyone that doesn't want me to succeed, die by fire, die by fire, die by fire, die by fire, die by fire.
Die by fire.
Give me this, give me that, kill my enemy, give me that, give me this, give me die by fire, die by fire, die by fire, die by fire.
I like that. See, that's the power of the Lord. Kill my enemies, die by fire. I deserve your car and your women, and you deserve curses and dying by fire because you want to cause the suffering of innocent animals, Lou Bestone, and then you want to encourage me to do it. It's not in my heart at this point. We've gone over this 1,000 times. Please leave it alone. Just let it be. I'll have to learn the hard way potentially. Maybe I'm learning the hard way right now. It's occurred to me. You've gaslit me so well that during my fast and all the rest of it, I go, maybe some of this pain is because I'm not blood sucking like Lou keeps telling me. Maybe I'll go have like some chicken, some Church's chicken, fried chicken, because I used to like that. Maybe I'll go have a Popeye's fried chicken sandwich. Like, you see, this is the thing. I got so many doctors on here, like Jeffrey Pizer says it's your anger. You're not loving enough. That's what's doing it. Lou Bestone says, hey, the gallstones and the pancreas being irritated and liver, whatever else being irritated is because you're not eating enough meat. Maybe it's because I do a broadcast every day where people come here and project onto me and into me like some kind of voodoo doll. And they're just running me ragged and destroying me from the inside out because I'm letting them on some level, I guess. I don't know how that works. The monk talked about that one day. Master Shingenji, whatever his name is, something like that. Talked about him not wanting to broadcast anymore because he can feel the energy of people projecting onto him, hating, presuming and assuming, and the mass of people has an effect on his inner space, some kind of quantum field relationship. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Just not eating enough meat. Maybe if I'm going full MAGA now and supporting Donnie and Elon and the rest, maybe I'll start blood sucking again and eating chicken, and I'll be restored to my original health and condition. Or I need more heroism from the U.S. corporate procedures and processes, bankers and politicos signing bills and acts to save everyone from what they encourage them to create.
Dualism of the American people and in private enterprise. Economic depression, he says, cannot be cured by legislative action. But the basic causes of the deepening crisis remain stubbornly obscure even to the business leaders summoned to the White House. The explanation offered by humorist Robert Benchley is as good as any.
Now, what were the depression, as we called it? Overproduction, maladjustment in gold distribution, overproduction, deflation, too little thyroid secretion, or flax disease, too much vermouth, overproduction, and by the same token, underproduction. Then, too, there was the Gulf Stream. All of these helped lead to inflation, deflation, and overproduction, with a consequent depression.
Many are beyond joking. A report from Detroit says men are sitting in the parks all day long, out of work, muttering to themselves.
Here's Lou. Yeah, that's Lou right there. That's Lou. That's a Lou Matrani right there. This is a perfect part of the broadcast. See, there's the synchronicity again. That's how I know God's with me. Bam. There's a Lou Matrani. There's Jack Slackcott. And then there's Lou Bastone sitting in the park, being obese, mumbling to themselves, muttering, sputtering, just projecting, confused, lost. And they think they know something. They think they know what planet they're on. And sure enough, just look. Take a step back and look at where we're at and what's been going on for the longest time. Okay. This guy with his hairline like Lou's. You see that? That's perfect synchronicity right there. That's what used to be Lou Bastone's hairline. We've made some progress since then, by the way. Or regression, I guess. The hairline is beyond receding. It's a complete recall. It's like when one of those bags of broccoli gets listeria. It's a complete recall. It's not even regression. It's not even recession. His hair is in a great depression, Lou Bastone is. Okay? That's the only way I can describe it. It's like the economy is not in a recession. It's a greater depression. It's almost completely withered, non-existent. There are no survivors. Okay? Lou, I want to know what your thoughts about that are. That how when we go back on a timeline, almost exactly 100 years, there's a guy sitting there mumbling and stuttering and muttering who also was constantly eating meat, whose hairline is completely depleted. Yeah, they got no answers for that.
Some succumb to apathy.
Mm-hmm.
Some are swept by alarm, and bank after bank across the country is
That's
hit by
you.
panic withdrawals. New lines appear on American streets, depositors swarming to snatch out what savings they have left before it's too late. Banks by the hundreds, by the thousands are forced to close. On the eve of the presidential election of 1932, the whole financial system quakes and totters. A bitter electorate, a frightened people, turns overwhelmingly against the party in power, turns hopefully toward a new national leader. Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Oh, there's Donnie.
His
Right.
campaign promise? A New Deal. His campaign song?
There it is.
Happy days are here again.
There it is. Happy
Franklin
days
Delano
are
Roosevelt on his
here
inauguration.
again.
In the tension and antagonisms of the moment, the defeated president and the president-to-be barely speak as
Happy
they ride
days
together to the
are
Capitol
here
for the swearing-in
again.
ceremony. The day is overcast.
That's like Make
and
America
sullen,
Great Again.
shadowed by uncertainty in Washington and throughout the land. For America,
Lou, please, I'm going to ask you. He's cycling and spinning down there, like so many other insane people online. I'm going to ask you to please stop cycling and rolling and spinning down there like some kind of mud pig. Okay? Lou, please. I'm asking nicely. Someone already brought up what I'd mentioned last time or a while back. That your hair is actually recoiling from your mouth because your mouth is in the front of your body and your hair is now wound up back here because your hair is even trying to get away from your muttering and mumbling and sputtering and confusion, your audible confusion. This is incontrovertible, irrefragable evidence of your chaos and confusion, much like Mr. Slackcott and so many others. Taylor is another one. Everyone knows Taylor. Nice boy. Hairline has now ran to the back of all these folks' head, recoiling from their mouthpiece. All right. Now, you got to look at this. It's not about me at that point. Trying to help.
something is ending this day. Something is beginning.
Right.
And no man can tell what.
Feel it.
One thing only is certain on this 4th of March, 1933. The old order changeth, yielding place to new.
There it is. Here again, the slaves are out there voting.
From the 32nd President of the United States,
Slave point here again.
electrify a people
Elon's
desperate
here
for hope and
again.
assurance. This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive and will prosper. So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Right.
Whatever may be said of him, this the people sense. He is not afraid. That night, the new president promptly breaks with tradition. He does not attend the inaugural ball. Instead, he launches immediately on a program of legislation and reform without precedent in American history. The New Deal begins at once. This nation, he has said, asks for action, and action now.
These are literally the people who also like went to Germany, met with Hitler, and go, he's a great fucking guy. We're signing on to everything. And then the word got back and they're like, okay, maybe we're not. Maybe we're not technically officially signing on. We are, but we're not. They're doing it again. They're now doing, and this is, and this, see, you want to know how you like learn what the history was they lied to you about? This is just, I'm going off on a crazy, okay, this is going to get wild. It's like the Nazis are like Ashkenazis, and when they say it was like they were killing Jews, the only problem is Hitler was Jewish, right? Like even the name is, but do we have to do the name thing? So what was going on there? Some have said, well, it was a Jew-on-Jew massacre, right? It was like Sephardic Jews and Ashkenazi Jews, right? So the Nazis, the Ashkenazis, were actually doing war on another sect of Jews and other folks who wouldn't sign on to the fascism, and the nationalist expansionism, and they're doing it again. And who's there? Oh, well, they're on Israel, and then there's Palestine and Israel, right? It's like it's kind of the same thing. And the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Israelites, the Ashkenazis, are, let's just say, redistributing the wealth of the Sephardic brown people. So we're doing it again. We're doing what some have said that's what the original thing was. And you can argue it's going to go the same way, because if you don't sign on to State of Israel being king of the mountain, being the good guys, you're part of the axis of evil. You're with the brown people. You know, if you're not with the Nazis, if you're not with us, you're against us. So we're looping again. It's the same players again. It's what got the state of Israel created in 1947 again. And we're now doing nationalista, socialista, fascista, expansionista with the same literal playbook and propaganda. It doesn't matter if you go to State of Israel, Sephardic Ashkenazi, the Federal Reserve banking system, the new digitized currency, like replacing the gold and silver, a greater depression, trade wars, world wars, currency wars. We're on a loop again. Everyone step up for the merry-go-round. We're going to ride it again. What do? 1,000 days straight. Always comes back to square one because they'll say, Paulie's fear-mongering. He's working with the Dark Masons to fear-monger and keep everyone in fear and panic. Well, some fear at times is good if you can transmute it into inspiration to do and be and have better. So what do you think my answer is going to be, folks, on what potentially we can do for some solution or mitigation of the inevitable loop we're going to find ourselves in? Whether we create it or not, it's probably going to affect everybody to some degree. Folks will be in a way better position if they learn the law now, if they learn how to make a claim, if they put their certain selves and their property on record with a certain status and standing and make it clear they're exempt from certain obligations, and manage the record properly and their affairs properly. Get on the land, learn to grow, make your own remedies, get away from the microwavable towers, that give you better internet according to everyone. If you ask the average slave, this is pretty common sense, intuitive, instinctual stuff. Right? Any animal would be able to figure this out. You want to dip into the cities from time to time because you want to reach into the proverbial garbage bin to fish around, that's fine. But then it's back to your homeland, so to speak, right? Away from the toxic people, places, and things and frequencies, learning to grow, working with some community on the ground, securing your rights, freedom, principles, spiritual faith, and property, and weathering the storm, right? Not getting completely thrown on your head because you want to completely ignore the signs of the times and the fact that if history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And we're at the same contention, inflection, concrescence point as we have been so many times before. This is almost, to me, proof that the universe is not what we logically think it is, whatever that means, right? As if you could logic out. I mean, what I mean by that is whatever's conventional for the average citizen, voting, tax-paying slave, this place is nothing like what they think it is. It's got to be some kind of holographic projection that we can take form in, what appears to be form, to gain an experience and make a choice. Very Matrix-like. It's not as real as it looks and feels and as much as we think it is. But it's real enough for us to get the experience and to have the power to choose and do and be and have better and be a part of a main character, quote unquote, story. Like they like to say, Paulie's got main character syndrome. Well, what syndrome do you have? Extra character syndrome? You're one of the extras? You don't take a direct role in your life, your community, the future of yourself and others and the world to some degree? You don't take any part in that? We're back to the intro again. Walter White. Paulie has Walter White Heisenberg syndrome to some degree because he thinks that potentially we're not here to just bear witness to, faith without works is dead. We're here to actually take an active role in our lives and others' lives and do and be a part of something and have the experience beyond just loop ad infinitum, perpetually doing the same things our ancestors have done that have led us to the same place, and rejecting and rebuking the origination of co-creation that we get the layover from our forefathers, if you will, the true ancestors, the true ancestry. So we're walking in two worlds, as oftentimes we are, it would seem to me. Part of a dualistic, holographic, reflective experience. All right. I guess I already covered the Doge nonsense, but it's up there, so I'll play it.
Overnight, a federal judge blocking Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency from accessing sensitive Treasury Department records, including the personal data of millions of Americans. The judge issuing a preliminary injunction after 19 states sued President Trump and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, saying they violated federal law by giving Musk's team access to the data.
Elon is doing a great job. He's finding tremendous fraud and corruption and waste.
And in another legal blow, a federal judge Friday pausing the administration's plan that would have put thousands of USAID workers on administrative leave last night, leaving as few as 611 essential employees. The White House accusing the agency of wasteful spending. It came just hours after the agency's name was scraped from its headquarters.
When you look at USAID, that's a fraud. The whole thing is a fraud.
Unions representing the workers sued to block the leave order, saying President Trump doesn't have the authority to stop the agency's work.
Assistance doesn't move from a warehouse into the mouths of hungry people by magic. It moves because brave men and women put themselves in really difficult circumstances in order to move that food.
During a Friday news conference, Trump also answered questions about the list of all FBI agents involved in the January 6th investigations demanded by his Justice Department.
I'll fire some of them because some of them were corrupt. I have no doubt about that.
Also overnight, the president taking to Truth Social, announcing he's revoking former President Joe Biden's security clearance, adding Biden could not be trusted with sensitive information.
Now, Trump also said he's ending former President Biden's intel briefings, a courtesy traditionally afforded to former presidents. Mr. Trump saying in his social media post that Biden did the same to him in 2021, at that time pointing to Trump's, quote, erratic behavior. Laura?
Meanwhile, Joe Biden can barely stand up or talk, and he's like, he can't be trusted with the security. Like, what's he doing? He wants that clearance so he can like get the continental breakfast that they still serve. To like, there's a continental breakfast program where if you get there early enough and you go in like the Oval Office, they got a breakfast layout, some oatmeal, some hard-boiled eggs, and you can take one of each. I mean, leave the guy alone. Now they're doing it. You guys ready to die? Now it's all they're going to do. We're going to do something about this. Hillary's going to prison. Remember that gig? Hillary was going to prison. She was going to Guantanamo. They had the Evergreen containers, the whole thing. Whatever happened to that? Right. Nothing. Where's QAnus when you need him? That's the question. Where are these people? Where are my heroes and saviors? What is my tax money going to if not QN and the roads? Oh man, daddy's making headlines like across the board today. Trump says he spoke to Putin about steps to end war with Ukraine. Well, that's nice. That's good. We're ending wars. What's next? Legal secrets?
President Trump says he has spoken with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky about taking steps to end the war in Ukraine. The announcement of the calls with Putin and Zelensky came just hours after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told a meeting of NATO representatives in Brussels what the U.S. expects when it comes to negotiations between the two countries.
We will only end this devastating war and establish a durable peace by coupling allied strength with a realistic assessment of the battlefield. We want, like you, a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine. But we must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective.
Secretary Hegseth went on to say that trying to establish those borders will, quote, only prolong the war and cause more suffering, end quote. He also noted that NATO membership for Ukraine was unrealistic. CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro joins us for.
All right, I didn't want to hear it. It's just they always use the same lingo, and nobody can figure out that these people are spiritually avatared or deceive themselves, which like they're one and the same, it seems. And they always use the same lingo like a bunch of robots. And they will always say, we want a sovereign United States of America. We want a sovereign Ukraine. Yeah, what you don't want is the sovereignty of God and the people upheld. You want to be able to make the laws a la code and to undo that and be able to rule everyone. That's what you all want. That's what New World Order is. It's the spirit of Lucifere, some might say, or the Shaitan, right? Because there's argument about the difference between them. I just use it as a
catch-all phrase at times, right? There's a force or a consciousness here that thinks it can do it better than the original and the supernatural. And no matter how hard it tries, it always gets worse. It always gets more corrupt. It always gets less trustworthy, less honorable, less faithful. That's the game. And it always shows up in a suit telling you it's going to help you. And we just want the sovereignty of the corporate body. I'm sure you do, because you want to overwrite the law of God and use man's rule, policy, statute, and code to interfere with property and rights and the transmission of God to the people, or the godly experience to the people. The Overman, as we talked about in the intro. Right, where folks go, no, I have an indwelling conscience and I'm going to follow those morals. I'm not going to follow your cultural, root word cult, propaganda. I'm not going to follow your societal process and procedure, right? So this is the game from the beginning of time. This is why I say the whole world is pimping and hoeing. They just don't know it because they're spiritually avatared. They're hoeing for their daddy, the devil, the shaitan. They're voting. They got the IDs. They got all the cards. They got look at the words. We can go to applicant, application, like Timmy and I and others were talking about last night. It's all in the words. Just like folks run around talking about what they deserve. I don't deserve this. I deserve this. The word is of serve. Serve. Who or what are you serving? And then what comes back to you? That's going to be a clue on what you actually deserve because of who and what you're serving and what you're not. That's the game here. So when you serve the state of, you serve the corporation, you serve the fascism and the corporatocracy, you serve the corruption, right? The dead speaker, that's what corporation means, the speaker of the dead. When you death worship, you get a culture of death worship. You get Babylonianism, you get disempowerment, you get disenfranchisement. Doesn't matter how many franchises you got on the corporate side, it's all corrupt. It's all accepted less for itself. It's all using toxified products. It's all killing itself and each other for profit. Again, the dualistic world, right? There's profit with an F, there's profit with a PH. It's really just comes down to, I guess, heart-based consciousness or lack thereof. Fascinating. I'll never get bored of this simulation here and what it reveals about each of us, directly or indirectly. RCMP vehicles being scrapped despite tough used car market. Well, yeah, they love to put it in your face that you're going to pay the slave tax you opt into, whether you know it or not, and do the contract for. You don't even rebut it, the presumption or assumption. Most of you don't even attempt to. But there's a good number of people who've decided they're out, and that's why they hired 80,000 IRS agents, and that's why going forward, and forgive me if I'm a bit grandiose, right? What makes that ant think that he can move a rubber tree plant? Oops, there goes another one. Because you got to dream big to some degree, right? In order to unite with that Overman, just not so big enough that you lose yourself on the ground. So the more that I and others keep pushing the line and keep showing up for ourselves and each other and what's true and what's right and giving communication, the more they're going to, at some point, like they have, hired more agents to deal with it. And then the more at some point they're going to have talks about, maybe we just do away with this, right? And then that leads to talks about, okay, we won't do away with it completely, but we just won't keep trying to force it on people who understand the law and their rights. Okay, I'll meet you on the middle ground. I'm not here trying to overthrow the devil's business. I'm reminding the devil's business is for the devil's people. And how do you know God's people? When they show up for themselves and others in the truth and do what's true and what's right and rebuke and reject the offer from the devil to sell their soul in order to profit in the world with an F. See? And that's all this test is over and over again, just like the Christ of being on the top of the mountain. This is allegorical, metaphysical, metaphorical, and it appeals to the presentation in the physical, the incarnation, right? Or it reveals the walk rather than appeals to it. It reveals the walk of a being in faith in a physical realm. Okay, so this is how we take our power back. This is how we stop giving it away. Rather, this is how we take our true credibility and our credit back. This is how we take our integrity back, our self-respect, all the able words. This is how God starts to back us. From what I'm seeing, from what I'm experiencing, God starts to back those who help themselves and do what's true and what's right. If you don't, it quickly takes the protection off you and says, well, I'm going to throw you to Shaitan and its minions in the world, and you can live in it and of it and see, like the prodigal son or daughter, what that's like.
See what it looks like, see what it feels like, see how you see yourself and how your family sees you, and all the rest of it. And if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it, right? For a time. You will come back to source at some point. So, yeah, I can't see any other reason for incarnation and what we're doing here at this time other than these glaring thematics that keep presenting themselves over and over again, which are not a impediment if we let it be. These are opportunities. And I contend that potentially we keep incarnating here over and over again to play this out on some level. I'm not necessarily saying on the lowest level that I have a conscious memory of that.
At No Name Auto, a used car dealership in Winnipeg, finding inventory is still an ongoing problem.
We have an export problem. A lot of the newer cars, the nicer cars, the cars hard to get are going to the States.
Owner Tom Renville says this began when the Canadian dollar started to decline.
There's usually a 20 or 30% difference between Canadian and American cars and, cars that are in demand.
Meanwhile, in a storage lot across town, rows of former RCMP vehicles sit waiting to be crushed, many in good shape with less than 30,000 kilometers on them. After a Nova Scotia man went on a killing spree in 2020 using a fake RCMP car, the public safety minister put a moratorium on auctioning all used RCMP vehicles pending a new plan for them. No plan has been put in place yet. The Canadian Taxpayer Federation says that this shows a culture of waste in government.
All of that adds up at the end of the day, and it costs taxpayers. What the government should be doing is looking to cut down on this type of waste and therefore saving taxpayers money and not spending so much every year.
Canada's public safety minister has recently signaled he will partially lift the ban on the sale of decommissioned RCMP vehicles later this winter, but vehicles built for police purposes will continue to be crushed. This, a stark difference from how the Winnipeg Police Service managed their vehicles. WPS says they try to extend the life of our vehicles, and the disposal is based on age, kilometers driven, repair costs, and the condition of the vehicles. WPS rarely decommissions vehicles with less than 100,000 kilometers. Moves that would greatly benefit those in the market for a new car.
They're cheaper, so I have one over there for $5,900, an all-wheel drive car. Like, you can't buy stuff like that out there. So, it would fill the void.
Tegan Russia, Global News.
All right, we can't figure out what to do, so we're going to crush a bunch of basically new cars. That, if folks were practicing what was being preached by the founders of their nation and truly engaged in self-governance, would never happen. This shit would all be checked. It would all be mitigated. The people would be recognized as men and women with natural rights and have the power at the courts, because this is where this shit is all won and lost. Enter in the white gorilla, Colombo gorilla, without the suit at court, because this is where this is all won and lost. If you're not recognized at court, you're not recognized at the ballot box or anywhere else. So ultimately, they're going to do whatever they want to do because you bitch ass motherfuckers, excuse me, I shouldn't go there, see? My Dr. Pizer said to watch that. Because you folks, some of you want to be, you want to accept less for yourself than what God has ordained for you. Is that a better way to put it? See, I got an email because when I left, see, I don't take maybe a lot of this stuff as seriously, including myself, as I should. I take the truth seriously and upholding the law and courting and all the rest of it to a degree, as much as it is a game and a bit of a joke at times. But they gave me a 3-year notice in my email about me becoming a reverend, which I don't know what that meant. I don't know what that means. Like, I didn't do it going, hey, I'm going to go be a reverend so I can like tell people and flash cards and that's going to give me some kind of false power. When I left rehab, the guy goes, you should go to this website and become ordained and I guess preach the gospel, whatever that meant at the time. It didn't really have any meaning to me at the time. And even when I did it, I just did it to kind of fulfill what he had put forth. Because I figure he spent some time, energy, attention on me. He saw something in me I didn't see. And he said, start there. Go on and fill out this form and get a credential. So I guess in a way, subconsciously, it kind of set me on a journey even before all that. think that a lot of us, if not all of us, are on this journey where we're being called to be a part of something that when we hear it in the world or in ourselves, we reject it. Because who wants to be a priest? Who wants to be a reverend? Who wants to be a pastor? Who wants to do any of that? And then ultimately, 3 to 5 years later, I find myself coming on daily talking about God and faith and trust and equity and upholding the law and co-creation and rights and freedom and principles, spiritual faith. So he must have known something that I wasn't aware of at the time. And it wasn't a conscious choice to do that. It just kind of unfolded that way. So maybe a subconscious seed was planted. Folks in the chat greeting each other. Yeah, it's in you, it's not on you. And if it's in me, then it's got to be in everyone else as well. All right, we got two news stories, quote unquote, planes crashing. I don't know what that is. Some more rituals, some more mockery. Like 2 to 4 planes over the past. There's 2 up there. I think there's 4 of them. They're all crashing into each other. Who knows? Maybe they're killing people using plane crashes and then just acting like it's an accident. Stranger things have happened. I'm not going to theorize too much. All right, maybe we go car lengths, 20 minutes, half hour, and then I'm checking out of here. I've completed my loop for the day to some degree. I'm going to continue with the rest of my daily looping. Life. All right, let's continue on with the protocol here.
Yeah. So everything that you put in there before they're doing an IRS tax return, maybe they did it 100% correct in 2004. And like Dean, they changed the code on him just at the first of the year, whatever they changed the code on him. So when he went to work back through the code that he believed was still legitimate and good, when he found out, they changed the code on me. Yeah. So everything that you put in there before that you're putting in now is either illegal, could get you in a lot of trouble, or just makes absolutely no freaking sense because you're not a code decipherer, so stop using that code.
For the Crown, I had a pretty good battle with my judge, and the Crown didn't even get to talk. I didn't give him a chance. And the judge said at the end, I asked him what jurisdiction does the court have over me, and he wouldn't answer. So then I asked what jurisdiction the trial would have over me, and he refused to answer that. So then I just said that the record take note that the judge wouldn't answer my question. And he said just before that he wanted me to write a letter to the Crown addressing my jurisdiction and issues. So my question is, how would I would I do that letter, or do I just
Dude. The judge doesn't have jurisdiction over you.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
The Crown is right. You have to address it to the judge. You could say to the judge, sir, before we proceed, may I address the Crown, or may you present this to the Crown? And here, let me give you a piece of paper in writing. And you put it in writing and say, I will appear and I will answer when you show jurisdiction. How does the Crown have jurisdiction over I, the man? And just hand it to the bailiff. The bailiff will hand it to the judge. The judge will say, this is very nice. Would you care to answer this? And then the Crown will say, well, this is a very interesting document that I was just delivered upon my person. I'm going to require leave of court for about 30 days to submit the proper answer to the court. And the judge will say, does that satisfy you, sir? You say, yes, I will give them leave of court for 30 days so they could deliver a proper answer to the court. Okay? Is there some reason why your fingers don't work and you can't put things in writing?
You're in a place where you filed a complaint, not knowing that you should have filed a complaint, but now you had them, you got the evidence, but now you're in a complaint and the judge is hooking up with the lawyer, and now they're getting ready to dismiss the case. You think you can get out of that situation by going in there on the court date, and that date, if the judge told you not to file any more papers, for instance, if the judge said, don't file any papers, let the, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine, because like I said, this is what kind of happened, like what we were talking today. It was funny. We kind of made a very, very vague claim, okay? We got a case number, okay? All we basically got was now we got an empty box with a stamp on it. We basically got a pre-stamped, prepaid. We got it was fully paid, envelope it's got a stamp on it. I don't know if you ever went to the post office and said, "Can I have a pre-stamped prepaid envelope?" And you pay, instead of 50 cents, you pay like 70 cents because you get the envelope and the stamp. So all we did was we put a very vague claim in there. Okay, very vague. She gave us the nice package to put it in now, and we got the nice stamp. And now all we have to do is deliver it to the side. But like I say to people, don't put all these freaking ridiculous exhibits and evidence in that nonsense, because it's going to throw a red flag up the court. Put a one-page claim with a 2 sentence in there, and that's it. She's going to be like, oh, boy, that's easy. Click, click, stamp, stamp. Here you go. Here's your stamp. Guess what you can do when you get home? You can modify your claim. You can make whatever the hell you want on it now. You got the case number. You got it all bundled up with a nice little envelope now. And now you're going to modify your claim because you haven't subpoenaed it to the other side yet. You're going to give it to the other side now with the modified claim with all the freaking exhibits in it, but you're going to make sure you give it to the court clerk lady. So then all of a sudden they're going to say, wait a second, this was a 1 sentence, 2 sentence claim. What the hell? Where's all these exhibits coming from? And it's like, well, I forgot to attach the exhibits today as the claim. Here's the exhibit. Sorry. And I go, holy crap, it's like 10,000 pages. If you think that you really need 10,000 exhibits. Me, I can do it in 1 sentence. And the exhibits when it comes to kids, it's like when I did with Jesse and Jonathan, was to say, I want the restoration of property, see exhibit A, B, C, D. And I attached 4 pictures of the kids. And that was it. They don't need to know the kids' names because that's private. I gave them those names. I'm not going to share them with anybody. I don't have to share what I gave to my children. I don't have to share anything with the public. Okay? If I don't wish to. I'm not giving them names, birth dates, social security. I'm not giving them anything. I'm saying, have you seen something that looks like this laying around somewhere in a province? Let me know, because I'm looking for it and I require its immediate return. How tough is this? So I don't understand why you guys can't just make a 2 sentence, 3 sentence claim like I did today for these folks. I think it was 3 sentences. Super simple. And they were laughing their behinds off, saying this is too easy, it's scary. I said, yeah, it's too easy, it's scary, ain't it?
But what I'm trying to do is see you in a situation where a complaint is filed, and the judge is siding with the attorney, and now they're trying to throw it out.
If the other side has already answered the claim, if the other side has already answered the complaint, you are at their mercy. You have to beg for leave of court to modify the claim and take the complaint and make it into a claim. Or you want to take one period out of it and put an exclamation point or a question mark in it. You have to beg the other side, because they spent all their time, all their money, all their energy and effort to try to discombobulate all the nonsense that you gave to them to begin with. And they could say, no, we spent so many man hours trying to figure out this silly nonsense. No, unless you want to pay us like 10 grand, 20 grand, we're not going to modify. We're not going to allow you to modify because we already gave you your answer and we're done. Now it's time to move it into the court. So if you realize that, holy crap, I made such a crucial error, just let your case, just basically dismiss your own case. And I did that in Alabama. I think it's Rule 41 in the Alabama Court of Appellate Procedure. And the court clerk said to me, what the hell's a Rule 41? I never seen anybody do it. I said, I dismissed my own claim. He said, what? He said, I've never seen anybody do that. I said, yeah, because everybody else has got lawyers, and a lawyer would never dismiss their own petitioners or their own plaintiff's claim or appeal, because you wouldn't get no more billable hours. He's going to let, even if he knows it's going to lose, he's still going to let it run its due course, so he gets paid big bucks. I know that I'm wasting my time in this appellate court. I know I'm in the wrong court. So you know what? I'm just going to let this case die. I'm just going to let it sit there. I'm going to dismiss it, which means just, like I said, dismiss to discharge. Dismiss just means it's just going to sit there until I feel like activating it again, calling it back to duty. It's not discharged from duty. It's just going to be deactivated for now. But you know what? I'm never going to go back to that case. It's ridiculous. So what I do is just spend $50 and stylize a new case. It's like, you know what? Yeah, pretty well pack that case up with crap. You know what? I don't think I can get this cat stink out of this case. You know what? I think I'm just going to open up a new case, start with a nice fresh case, and do a 2-line sentence thing and be done. Let them answer this claim. So sometimes you got to let the case go. Sometimes a possum or a civet cat or a cat just lets loose in a suitcase. You know what? You just got to let it go. You ain't even going to get the stink out of it. Just move on. Open up a new case.
You say to file your claim, like the gentleman was talking, he's going for a speeding ticket. when you say file your claim and run your claim, and my question to you is, how do you get your claim into the same room at the same time that they are going after you, and you want to argue your claim against them? How do you get that to happen all at the same time?
You just ask, when you're making a claim, you just say it would be good to join the claims to save the courts a limited resources, so that way the public doesn't have to be burdened to hear two cases at two different court dates, that we could get the both parties summons to appear at the same time to save resources. That's all.
So when you
people, it's like if somebody's going for bankruptcy, okay? Each person isn't going to have to file their own claim against somebody for the debt due. The creditors all join up in one big claim. And say, when you say, the debtor says, how many people are your creditors? It's like all these people. So you're going to get everybody, like almost like you would say, like a class action lawsuit. You're going to get everybody in one big room at one time, and the judge is going to say, look, issue it to all your creditors. All the creditors want to make a claim that there's a debt due. Come forth now and make the claim. So, I'm going to cut up this guy's pie, and everybody's going to get a piece of the pie. So it just doesn't waste, 50 years. It's like, you got a claim against this guy, come forth and make the claim. What we're going to all do is on the same day at the same time.
Okay, so when you take it to the clerk and file it, you request that they attach it and hear it at the same time?
Yeah, you could say that there's I'm also have an interest in this matter, and I would like to be heard on this date, that this case is going to be heard at this time.
Okay.
I have interest in it, and I have to make a claim as well. I have a claim. I have a vested claim that the debt is due to me as well. Because a trespass and a claim, the trespass and the debt technically is the same word. It's that there's a debt due, there's a trespass, there's been a wrong, there's been a harm, injury, or financial loss.
Okay, and if you were the prosecutor of your case, and would you ask for a trial by jury as opposed to the person who caused you harm? Would you, as a prosecutor, ask for a trial by jury?
And like I said, it depends. It all depends, because sometimes the community standards, no matter if a fictional entity is coming after me, there would be no need to waste my time with a jury. If there's a fictional entity coming after me, the man in the black robe knows exactly what is going on, and he knows exactly that we're in a world of man, and he knows who's going to win. Let me put it this way: if you get a trial by jury, and it's over against the IRS, every single freaking person on the show thinks that the IRS wrote him a letter. Correct?
Correct.
The judge knows the IRS has no imposable thumbs. The IRS can't pick up a pen. The IRS never wrote anybody a letter. The judge is smart than the jury, because the jury's like, oh, look, he got a letter from the IRS. No, he didn't. The judge knows he didn't. I know he didn't. He got it from a man. And the man's name's certainly not IRS. So obviously, if I was on an IRS case, I would not have a jury, because the jury's a bunch of morons that think the IRS wrote him a letter. Oh, look, the IRS wrote him a letter. He clearly ignored this letter. What IRS wrote a letter? Get the IRS on a freaking witness stand to testify under oath of affirmation that he wrote a letter. Well, you know what we mean. Don't be difficult. Don't be stupid, Carl. Oh, that's right. I'm the stupid one. IRS wrote me a letter. See, I don't want a jury. Not for that.
Okay, but if it's say you against me or me against you, depending, banging around in my head and decide whether I would or would not want a jury.
I definitely want a jury. Oh, I'd want. Let me put it this way: it was you against me, me against you. That's fine. What happens if it was an 80-year-old lady against you, or a 3-year-old girl? Would you want to go up against an 80-year-old lady or 3-year-old girl?
No.
The answer is no. No, you're going to lose. Okay. So all the cases are the same. There has to be a trespass. There has to be a wrong. There has to be a controversy. But all the cases are unique. And that's what makes the game fun. It's like playing poker. How would you like it if all you had in the deck of cards was 2 cards and the guy had an ace and you had a jack? You get dealt the ace, yeah, you're going to win. The other guy you get the jack next time, you're going to lose. It's the random chance of who knows what the hell's going to happen. It's a game. It's the randomness of you've got to put all the elements together and say, wow, what am I looking at? Let's put all the cards on the table and let's see if we should play the game or we should just fold or we should bluff. It's a game. It's a wonderful game. We don't have to kill each other in duels anymore. We don't have to put it's like Alexander Hamilton got the Secretary of State or the Secretary of the Treasury got blown away by the Vice President. That was ridiculous. When that happened, that was it. It all moved into court. No more, well, he said that my wife looked fat in that hat, so I'm going to put a bullet to his head and we're going to go pistols at dawn. That's ridiculous. You're losing a good man and another good man. The other guy had to run for his life and was dragged out of office, and the other guy was dead. So this is why the court system is a wonderful system that we have. And if the people in a courthouse is, like I said, is starting to being maybe tainted by being paid off by the corporates or the banks, and maybe we got to call them to it and say, are you throwing a man in a box because he owes a debt to a fictional entity that has no accrual or financial loss? They can prove nothing in an open court, and nobody's ever going to come by and testify against this flesh and blood. Are you saying that this man is going to be held surety for the name on his mortgage, but the bank doesn't have to produce the man to make the claim? Because whatever the bank is in error, shouldn't the bank be held as just as liable? Shouldn't a man be held as the surety for the bank? Who is the man who claims control of the bank? It should be in equal footing.
No,
and that's
I
all
agree.
I'm going to say. If we've got to be fair. It's got to be both ways. There's got to be a balance here, and it's not. And that one guy did, and it was funny, in Atlanta, he said that his buddy went in before the judge, and he said, I don't understand what this ticket is about. I have no clue about these silly codes. I'm a complete idiot. An idiot just means that you're a private person acting on your own behalf, and that you're not part of a society or professional, like a professional, like a plumber, a doctor, or a lawyer. You're an idiot. You're a person on your own. You're a stranger. You're an outsider. It doesn't mean you're stupid. So the judge said to him, so you're an idiot. Yeah, absolutely. He says, and you don't understand it? Nope, not a damn thing, and I'm an idiot. And the judge says, fine, if you're an idiot, get out of my courtroom. He says, matter of fact, get the hell out of this courthouse. So his buddy, he said, when his buddy left the courthouse, he said, the judge stood up and said, if there's any more idiots, I mean any more idiots in my courtroom, I said, I want you to get up and get the hell out of here right now. Is there any idiots here? I don't want to deal with no more idiots today. Get up and get out. And everybody just sat there. And everybody could have got up and went out.
Yeah, but they'd be admitting they were an idiot.
An idiot means that they're a private person. They're not under a duty and obligation to a society.
But they don't know that. They think it means you're stupid, like a moron.
Right, but the one guy said that him and his friend went in there after listening to my show, and he was camcorded, his buddy going in there, saying that he was an idiot just to see what the judge would do.
What happened?
He said the judge told him to get the hell out of the courtroom. He said, as a matter of fact, get the hell out of the courthouse. If you're an idiot, get out of here. You can't hold him liable. He said I said to Bali. I said to Bali and the other Punjabis, I said, if this judge does not say you're an idiot, you ain't going home. I said, you better pray. At the end of this little whatever the trial we got going on here, you better pray. The judge calls you and your buddy's an idiot, or you ain't going nowhere. So the judge called him an idiot. He called him a lot of idiot words. He's like, man, you idiot, da-da-da-da-da. Nobody could possibly believe any of this bullshit go to work. This is the most idiotic da-da-da nonsense. They're a bunch of idiots. And Bali said, oh, we're going home. I said, yeah, you're going home. I'm going back to America, and I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to win. This is going to be fun. And the judge said, case discharged. They can't convict an idiot. You can't. You can't convict yourself. If you're an idiot, you're an idiot. And there's nothing in the law that says that you can ever not be an idiot. If you want to be a private person, you're a private person. I tell everybody, go to etymonline.com. It's like E-T-Y, O-L, line. I'll spell it out on the chat board. .com or .org. And Google where it says idiot. And just go right down to where the Greek or the Latin version of idiot is, where it originally comes from. I don't mean the 2014 definition of idiot, which just means stupid, retarded, and all this other stuff. No, the court still speaks in Latin. If you don't think they speak in Latin, you keep convincing yourself that they went to public school or something like that, learned how to speak. No, they actually took it right from here, right there, idiot. In Greek, it means a layman, a person lacking professional skill, opposed to a writer, a soldier, a skilled workman, or an attorney. Literally a private person, as opposed to one taking part in public affairs. It comes from idios, which means one's own. It's an ordinary person, an outsider. And there you go.
From Bovier's, Brad Haas has on here from Bovier's, it says idiot person, a person who has been without understanding from his nativity and whom the law therefore presumes never likely to attain any.
Okay. First of all, that's pretty damn good. But the other thing bad about it is Brad is referring to a book that was only written in 1856. When I go for the words, I go for the Latin version of the words because that's what the judges are doing. The judges are going back to Latin. So if you say something in Latin, the judges will say that they understand what you're doing. You're going back to the source of the word, not some misconstrued. Like what's funny is if you look at Webster's 1828 dictionary, that everybody loves Webster's. I like Webster's 1828. I think it's fantastic. But if you read the book reviews, the London book reviews of 1828 and 1829, they bashed poor Noah Webster. They said this guy took such liberties with the dictionary. He rearranged the English language. How dare this man think he could just come on board? And the English language has been this way for hundreds of years. How dare this guy just come on and change these words all around? What the hell is he trying to pull? This is about the biggest pile of crap dictionary we've ever seen, ever. But now, in the year 2014, we think Webster's Dictionary is the best book on planet Earth. But if you read the book reviews from 1828 and 1829, they said, hey, man, who the hell does this Noah Webster think he's going to get off and just write whatever the hell he wants? And that's what I say to people all the time, like Paul Gordon Hall. And they say, well, you're not going into court to argue, are you? I said, because if I was a judge, if I had a cup of coffee in my hand and I just want to go home, I'd say, I hope you're not here to argue. Are you here to argue today? That's the last thing I want to hear. Just tell me you're standing in my courtroom and you want to argue. I mean, just go for it, boy. Just tell me you want to freaking argue with me. Just make my day. And the kid would say, no, I don't want to argue. My teacher ever told me it's not good to argue, so I don't want to argue. And I tell everybody a billion times that argue means to make something clear, to make something shine, to make it white, to state your point, to make it so there's no miscommunication. But they want to make you seem like, here, argue in Latin. To make clear, to make known, to prove, to declare, to demonstrate, to shine, to be white, to be bright, to be clear. There you go. What's wrong with that? Of course I'm here to argue. Of course I'm here to make it known, make it clear, make it known, and prove my case. Of course I'm here. What else would I be doing in court except for be bringing in my point of view? Why would I bother going to court if I'm not here to argue? Why don't I just stay home and let this guy win by default? No, I'm here because I want to argue, because I want to make my point crystal clear. But if I'm a grouchy old judge and will say, oh, just tell me you're going to argue. Go ahead, just make my effing day. Just tell me you're going to argue. All right, just do it. And you'd be scared out of your pants to say, no, I'm not here to argue. And the judge say, good. Case for the state. Guilty. Get out of here.
So isn't someone that claims to be an idiot, though, don't they require a lawyer or representation because they're an idiot?
No. The judge would say, well, we're going to set up a competency hearing. So where in law does an ordinary man, a private person, how can you compel me to have legal knowledge? Why can you force me to learn legalese? Or what makes you think you could force me to learn Chinese? Or what makes you think that you can make me believe that I'm not an idiot? If I want to believe I'm an idiot, if I want to believe in God, what makes you believe, sir, that I have to believe until I believe what you believe, you're gonna do what? What are you gonna do to me because I won't believe what you believe? What's the penalty for not believing what you want me to believe? You see what I'm saying? They can't force you to believe that you're not an idiot.
I don't know. It seems funny to me to go in there and admit you're an idiot. That's
right.
I don't know.
If you were taught that in school that anybody calls you an idiot, you're supposed to jump up and down, kick your legs, and scream up and down, I'm not an idiot. I just literally read to you what the word idiot means. These legal people are coming in and they're mutilating the English language. They're teaching you in school that idiot is a bad word. Idiot is a beautiful, lovely word. It just means I'm an outsider. It means I'm acting on my own behalf. It means I'm a private person. I don't take any part of any public affairs. and I'm not skilled as a lawyer or a writer or an attorney. What is wrong with saying that? You guys were just taught that, oh, he's making fun of me. He called me an idiot. Because the legal society took over the public school system, so when you people go into court, the judge gets to walk all over you in 10 words or less. The same thing with the word suffer. I tell you guys that a million times. Suffer. If you said, oh, these policemen, I'd say that if I was the judge, I said, oh, did you suffer at the hands of the policeman? Oh, did that policeman make you suffer? Did he beat you up? Did all those 10 policemen make you suffer? And you say, yes, look, I'm suffering. I suffered really bad at the hands of policemen. And say, okay, case dismissed. Because suffer means that you had the ability to fight back, but you chose to just sit there and take it. That's all suffer means. It means you by consent, you had the ability to do something about it, like get up and walk away or tell them no. But you chose to sit there and take it and not fight back. You told them to sit there and consent to it.
So the most important thing is to look up the words. Make sure before you even open your mouth, you look up what the definitions are, right?
But what it is that you were just taught, no, because the biggest thing is that you went to public school and you were taught the word idiot is a bad thing. And you were taught the word suffer means that people are going to feel pity for you. The judge doesn't feel pity for you when you said you suffered. The judge says, are you trying to tell me that you could have done something about it, but you just laid there and took it? And did you consented to it? It's like whatever kicks you get into, maybe you really like 10 cops whooping your ass. I said, but you sound pretty crazy to me. But if you said you suffered at the hands of the cops, well, whatever you and those 10 guys are into, have at it. Who am I to judge you? You're crazy. You like getting beat up by cops? Oh, okay.
Well, that's why I said you should look up the words before you say them, right?
What I'm saying is, who would know that word suffer means to consent? Nobody. You can't. I mean, how are you going to find that word out? And when a judge just asks you a simple question, are you an idiot? You're going to say no. You say, did you suffer because of the cops? You're going to say yes. And you can say, are you here to argue the case today? No, I don't want to argue with anybody. See, so those three things right there, you just lost your whole case. But it sounds like we're supposed to say, like I hear so many freaking gurus say, oh, well, you go into court in peace and love and understanding. You're not there to argue. And that's why I told Gordon Hall up a new hole on his show one day. And he was like, dude, no, we're not supposed to go to argue. I said, well, then go ahead. Don't argue and don't demonstrate that what you're saying is making crystal clear and you're bringing your case known and you're trying to, I said, go ahead. You'll lose your case so fast, your head will spin. You tell the judge, no, I'm not here to argue. Then I said, well, what the fuck are you here for then? There's no controversy. You don't want to say what you've got to say? Okay, fine. I'll give the other side the win. So even if Gordon Hall didn't know what the freak the word argue meant, and he made millions of dollars, bullshitting people, and if he researched these words and he didn't know what it meant, how are you people going to know what it means?
So when's your dictionary coming out?
Oh, soon enough. And it's funny, this Mike GM, he's saying suffering is like allowing, as in like not removing consent. Okay. But like I said, it's the consent. When you had the ability to do something about it and you didn't do it. You could look if you want to look in Black's Law Dictionary, fine. You can look in there if you want. It's no big deal. But like I said to people all the time, see, these ladies didn't know either. These ladies here who are French, and I said, you don't know where Black's Law comes from? And they were like, well, it's a man's name. I said, no. I said, do you women really think Black's Law is the name of a man like Joe Black? I said, you guys can't be shitting me. Black's Law, has to do with how blacks were supposed to be treated in the United States. It comes from like 1713. It's a French book. It's called the Code Noir. I said, it's how the whites were supposed to treat the blacks when they came to the United States or came to the colonies. So when French...
No.
Yes.
Really? I did not know that.
Yes. You really think it has to do with a man's name. Did you think that too?
Well, like Blackstone, Black. Yeah, I thought it was a guy's name. Remember, like Webster's Dictionary, Black Law Dictionary.
No.
I didn't know that. Boy, see? You never cease to amaze me, Carl. I always learn something when you're on. God bless you.
It's the Code Noir. The Code Noir says that black people have to be treated in a certain manner like any other humans. When they get sick, you must provide them medical care. When they need dental, you must give them Medicaid. When they retire, when they no longer work in the field, you have to give them Social Security benefits. You got to put them on welfare. This has been going on for since 13, I think the Code Noir will first hit, from the French government, saying you can't just, when a slave is done working, you can't just take him into the back of your house and put a bullet in his head and throw him in a pit. You got to provide for him social services. It ain't no different than what happened in 1964 with the Civil Rights Act. You got to provide them social benefits. You give them civil rights. So this is ridiculous that people don't understand. All it is encoding you into certain things that the government must do. It's the same thing the Code Noir read back in the early 1700s. No, it's just a definition. Yeah, it's just definitions of how you're supposed to treat like your property. So they treat man like property. The government thinks that you want to go run for the Black's Law for your definitions, you go right ahead. And it'll show you how you get treated like property. So you just go right ahead. And you guys keep citing Black's Law Dictionary for me, why don't you?
I didn't know that. Isn't that amazing?
It's the Legalese Society's dictionary. It's not the Dictionary of Man. It's the Dictionary of the Legalese Society. It's not the Dictionary of Man. That's what I'm trying to do with the dictionary. I'm trying to find stuff from the Greeks and Latin words, and I'm saying this is the way man used to talk for hundreds of years. Don't be bullshitted by this stuff that's come around for the last 100, 200 years. I'm trying to find the original sources of the words. So when you guys go to court and say, "Oh, well, argue," well, no, teacher told me I better not argue. I'll get in trouble if I argue. Well, dude, if you get in that courtroom, you don't argue, you're going to jail. If you don't argue, you're making it easy for the other side. You better stand up there and argue. Well, that means bad. No, argue means good. It means to make clear, to make shine through, to make transparent, to bring forth the truth. How is that bad? Well, my teacher told me that was bad. Yeah, so she control you easy. And then when you got to court, it makes it for the judge to control you easy. It's simple. You guys
so how about the word controversy?
Honestly, controversy. That's 4 syllables. That's too many. That's too many. You can manipulate that thing so many different ways from Sunday. You can say, what's con mean?
Controversy, argue, same thing, right? To argue in court is to create a controversy.
No. That's the worst thing you do. There is no such thing as a synonym in court. It's got to be expressed, not implied. Every word means exactly what it means. You take one word out, you add a word, and you destroy your claim. There is no such thing as a synonym. Not in any good contract, not in any good law. It's like I said, when Dean Clifford, I saw him whipping out the Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, I started laughing my ass off. That's the worst one. It's 1951. That's right after World War II. What a ridiculous version. Because like I said to the one guy, I said, he had one on his desk, one of the guys I went to go see in North Carolina. I said, hey, let's flip it to the word require. What does this say? To want, to need, to request, to ask. I said, dude, that's synonyms. That's a fucking book of synonyms. I said,
so what's the best edition?
There's not.
Which one do you recommend?
Well, like I said, I try to actually use the Latin source of the word, or I try to use Greek, Latin, whatever the original word meant way back when. That's what I try to stick with, because that's what the courts are using. The courts are still going back to the Latin words.
And where do you find that?
Like that etymology online there. It's at etymololine.com or etymololine.org. So just Google it, and you see it'll be kind of like a beige-looking thing with like a lion-looking thing, and you put the words in there, and that is a hell of a source for etymololine.org. Not etymology. Don't put etymology. It's etymoline, like line.com or etymoline.org. It's a great source of words. And like I said, I stay away from any legalese definitions because, like Larry said on my show, he says, call, man. The judge in Ohio wrote back to these 2 folks I'm helping up there, a nice black couple up there, that said, do not use our words, do not use our citations, do not use our case laws, do not use our judgments, do not use our rulings. You try to use our stuff again, it's going to be perceived to be paper terrorism, that you're blocking up the courts, and that we're going to hold you in contempt. That's right. You are a man. Make a 2-sentence claim and be done. None of this silly rulings, none of this silly citations, none of this Constitution nonsense. Just put your 2-sentence claim in and be done.
How do you spell Adam Align? E-T.
Yeah, well, I'll try to find it real quick.
Okay.
Here's some. E-T-Y. Yeah, ETYMONLINE.com. Like I said, you're going to see a picture of a lion. You see like a lion.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Got it. I'll put it up on the website so we have a...
Yep. That's where I got almost all my stuff. That's where I got almost all my words from. A huge portion of them. When I didn't really like what I was reading there, then I'd actually go to a library and I'd just try to find the oldest books I could find. And I'd start working backwards.
Thank you, version? Everybody that posted it on the chat. I wasn't looking. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. That's cool.
Yeah.
You just put words in there, and it gives you the.
Yeah, put idiot in there. You put argument.
Real ruts of modern English.
No.
Etymologies are not definitions; they are explanations of what our words meant and how they sounded 600 or 2,000 years ago.
Right.
Why isn't that interesting?
I don't want the new versions because the legal society and the teachers perverted it. They perverted the words. They totally mutilated them.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
That
so
is so cool.
Yeah, I don't want the new versions of the words because they destroy them. They just totally manipulate us by using the old words against us. Like our grandparents knew what the word.
We've got search mode here. It says natural language, find a single term, find any term, find exact phrase.
Yeah.
So I just plugged in the word idiot. So what would I click on? Find exact phrase? Or
no,
natural language?
No, just do search mode. Just do
search mode? Okay.
And just put idiot in there.
Okay, idiot. Early 14th century. Person so mentally deficient as to be incapable of ordinary reasoning.
Okay.
Also in Middle English.
Wait. No. So you're starting at the newest versions. Go down to the Greek version and the Latin version.
Okay. Where does it say Greek or Latin?
Right there, second sentence. Like the 12th century from Latin. Idiota.
1713 from Latin. Idioticus?
No, just idiota.
Uneducated?
The second line.
Oh, from Latin. Idiota. Ordinary person, layman, outsider. In late Latin, uneducated or ignorant person. From Greek, idiots. Layman person lacking professional skill. Opposed to writer, soldier, skilled workman. Literally, private person. As opposed to one taking part in public affairs. Used patronizingly for ignorant persons from idios, one's own.
Like doesn't that sound like pro se or proper persona acting on one's own behalf?
Yeah.
Everybody says proper persona acting on one's own behalf. Well, there you go. I'm an idiot. I act on my own behalf, one's own. You see? But see, you got to go down to the Greek version and the Latin version. As you go up and up and up through the centuries, they're going to manipulate the words and change them.
Schmo.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Schmuck.
So you go up.
Oh my goodness.
But you see what I'm saying? Right. They're going to try to make it cretin. Right. They're going to try to make it seem imbecile. They're going to try to make it seem like these are all synonyms to that. And in law, there's no such thing as a synonym. If you say you're an idiot, that's it. You don't say you're an imbecile. You don't say you're cretin. You say you're an idiot, and you stay with that. Just like when I go to court and I say I'm a man, I stay with it. I don't say I'm a citizen. I don't say I'm a brother. I don't say I'm a dad. I don't say I'm a Republican. I don't say I'm a Democrat. I don't say I said I'm a man. That's it. What kind of man? You tell me. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a man. Just like they said, when you pick up that plastic card, the cop looks at you and says, "Is this you?" Dude, I'm just a man. I'm not a piece of plastic. I wish sometimes I was a piece of plastic, but no, you know what? I'm a man. Unfortunately, that's all I am is a man. I'm not a piece of plastic. Sorry. You know, because like I said, what if the guy gives you any crap about that piece of plastic? It's like, look, the only reason why I have the piece of plastic, sir, is because if I didn't have it, you'd pull out your gun and you'd probably put a bullet to my head. I said, so, you know what? It's probably a good idea for me to carry that piece of plastic, but certainly, sir, the piece of plastic is not me. It's a piece of plastic that basically wards off our cops from throwing me out of my car, tasering me, or putting a bullet to my head. That's why I carry it, for self-protection.
All right, I'm going to leave it there, folks. Back tomorrow, somewhere between 12 and 5, barring some act of God or the state, which more and more each day, as we know, the state of corporation has become the God for the majority of the citizen slaves. So stay safe, as they like to say. More importantly, stay free, assuming you've got that. All unaffected on the way out. Say goodnight to the bad guy. Blessings to the contributors and supporters, and blessings to all, especially cowardly loser failure haters. They need it more than anyone I would know. Don't be ashamed to admit from time to time what lives within you. Knowledge of self is knowledge of other selves, knowledge of the universe, and knowledge of God and the devil. One seems to come with the other and vice versa. Okay, bye. Is it because I choose to work for myself and to be self-made, so to speak? Is it because I choose to uphold the law and understand legal versus lawful? When you folks wake up and realize you're not doing any of that, you're a go along to get along, lukewarm, mediocre slave who's literally just a pawn in a corporatist fascist system. You've never found yourself or created yourself or even understood the idea of self-made, yet you want to comment on other folks who had to go past complete insecurity, fear, doubt from self and from everyone around them, denial, disempowerment, right? Rejection, being rebuked, being persecuted, being prosecuted, and still somehow coming out better than ever for it. They all got something to say about me in this walk, when people want to take this walk with me especially. You know what the funniest part about it is? They got no problem talking shit, demeaning me and what I do, devaluing me and her's relationship and our connection and our understanding and our walk and the reason
you can't treat him like any of the other niggas around here because he ain't like any of the other niggas
want to deny all
around
that,
here.
but
You
then
got
we
it?
get the results and we get the dismissals. You don't hear hide nor hair of them. They don't come out and say, yeah, we were hating, we were lying, we were talking shit, we were acting like there was no movement there was no power, there's no credibility and value there, right? We tried to do all that, and then we got shown it was exactly the opposite, and we just act like it never fucking happened, right? That's the game. I see you motherfuckers doing what you are. You're the most pathetic, pitiful pack of loser failures you could ever see. And the sad part is it's the majority of folks. You folks are so ignorant and arrogant and unwilling to look at yourselves and what you created, but then call people like Paulie Boy a loser when I am rugged, entrepreneurial, individualistic, Americana, interdependent, if anything, but not codependent. And then there's like a whole other world that came forth. Networks of folks, rights, freedom, principles, spiritual faith, dismissals out the ass, changing the whole game on Denver. We've literally completely changed the game and put it back in its proper perspective, at least on the main state where that video has become famous, infamous, if you will. And they're going to sit here and deny the walk. So again, I'm not complaining. If anything, I'm bearing witness and testimony, and I'm inspiring and motivating a whole other group of motherfuckers to come forth and be what they're meant to be, and just remind them that, hey, when you walk this path in life, you may have access to big things and you may have big dreams and all the rest of it. Just stay focused, do the next right thing, keep the faith, and play a long game. Because if not, you will get tricked out of your power and position. And I'm not claiming I haven't done it to myself at certain times. I may be doing it right now. Right? But a lot of my ranting, my raving, my rambling when I come on here, if nothing else, is to inspire, motivate you folks. I'm living an authentic life. I'm pushing past fears and challenges. I'm going to the unknown many times, or to where few have gone before.
You can't treat him like any of the other niggas around here because he ain't like any of the other niggas around here. You got it?